Debunking myths about neurodiversity, what you need to know. So let's start with the elephant in the room, and we're going to use some figurative language. Just imagine walking into a jungle full of creatures, each one unique, each one with its own strengths. Some, they swing effortlessly through trees, some burrows underground, some soar high above. Now, what if we judge all these animals by how well they could climb a tree? The fish would feel like a failure. The elephant would be completely frustrated. And even the eagle, though capable, would wonder why flying wasn't considered. That's how society often treats neurodiversity. We expect every mind to function the same way. And when someone's brain processes the world differently, we act as if they're broken rather than simply different. Neurodiversity, in this sense, is the recognition that brains don't all work the same way. And that's not only okay, that's actually essential. Because in this sense, it brings creativity, innovation, and perspectives we might otherwise miss. But unfortunately, myths about neurodivergent people, those with ADHD, autism, dyslexia, and other neurological variations are everywhere. And these myths, much like an old stubborn turtle absolutely refusing to leave its shell, are long overdue for a reality check. So with that being said, let's bust these myths wide open. So let's begin with myth number 1, and that is neurodivergent people are less intelligent. This is one of the most persistent and harmful misconceptions. There's an assumption that if someone thinks differently, they must be less capable. However, intelligence is multifaceted. It isn't a one-size-fits-all measure. Just like an owl excels at night vision, while a cheetah is built for speed, neurodivergent people often have strengths that go unnoticed in traditional settings. Now, for example, many people with autism have extraordinary pattern recognition, memory, or deep focus in areas of interest. Also, people with ADHD can be highly creative, and excel in fast-paced environments that others may find totally overwhelming. Dyslexic individuals frequently have exceptional problem-solving abilities and can think outside of the box. They think outside of the box in ways that neurotypical people might not be able to. Yet, despite this premise, because many educational and workplace systems, they are built for one specific way of thinking, neurodivergent people are often judged unfairly. It's like expecting a cat to bark and then being disappointed when it doesn't. The truth is intelligence comes in many different forms, and different doesn't mean deficient. So let's move on to myth number 2. Neurodivergent people all have the same experiences. Now, saying all neurodivergent people experience the world in the same way is like saying all birds fly at the same speed or all fish swim in the same patterns. Not only is it intellectually lazy, it's categorically wrong. Even within a single diagnosis, experiences can be vastly different. Take autism, for example. Some individuals are highly verbal and social, while others are non-speaking and communicate in different ways. Some people with ADHD, they absolutely thrive in structured environments, while others find them suffocating. Even two dyslexic individuals may have completely different strengths and different challenges. Neurodiversity is a spectrum, not a single mold. Let's repeat that. Neurodiversity is a spectrum, not a single mold. So when we assume everyone fits into neat little boxes, we ignore the beautiful complexity of the human mind. So let's move into myth number 3, And this is neurodivergence is a problem that needs to be fixed. So it's important to get one thing straight. Neurodivergence is not a disease. Neurodivergence is not a disease. It's not a malfunctioning circuit board that needs to be rewired. Yet so many people talk about autism, ADHD, and other neurological differences as if they're tragic disorders that should be cured or hidden away. This kind of thinking is like looking at a peacock and saying, wow, it would be so much better if it had grey feathers like a pigeon. The peacock's brilliance isn't a defect, it's just a difference. So it's important to realize that there's a distinction between defect and difference. Now, that's not to say that neurodivergent people don't face challenges. Many do, especially in a world designed by neurotypical minds. But instead of trying to fix neurodivergence, we should focus on understanding and supporting it. The problem isn't in the brain itself, it's in the rigid systems that refute to accommodate different ways of thinking. And now let's move on to myth number 4. And this is that neurodivergent people can't succeed in life. We can do an easy exercise here. Try telling that to Einstein, who is believed to have been dyslexic and possibly autistic, or to Simon Bowles, the Olympic gold medalist with ADHD, or perhaps tell this to Stephen Jobs, who had traits associated with neurodivergence and revolutionized the way we interacted with technology. What's the point? The point is that neurodivergent individuals aren't just capable of success, they often redefine it. And why is that? Well, their unique ways of thinking allow them to solve problems others wouldn't even see. It's like watching a hawk spot a tiny mouse from hundreds of feet in the air while everyone else is still scanning the ground. The key is finding the environments that nurture strengths rather than punish differences. So when neurodivergent minds are supported, and that's the key, when they are supported instead of suppressed, the results can be absolutely extraordinary. So let's move on to myth number 5. If someone is high functioning, they don't need support. High functioning is one of those misleading labels that does more harm than good. It suggests that if someone can mask their struggles well enough, they don't actually have any. But just because a swan looks graceful on the surface doesn't mean it isn't padding. It doesn't mean that it isn't padding furiously beneath the water. Many neurodivergent people spend years learning how to camouflage their struggles, often at great emotional cost. They might push themselves to exhaustion trying to fit into a neurotypical world, only to burn out. So here's an important point. Just because someone appears to be managing doesn't mean that they don't need accommodations, understanding, or simply a break. Support should be based on individual needs, not assumptions about how well someone seems to be doing. So with that being said, it's important to shift the conversation, because it's time to stop treating neurodivergence as a flaw and start seeing it as a natural and valuable variation of the human experience. When we let go of outdated myths, we create a world where everyone, regardless of how their brain works, has the chance to thrive. So the next time someone tells you a myth about neurodiversity, challenge it. Share what you know. Be the one to shake the tree and let new perspectives take flight. Because the jungle of human minds isn't meant to be uniform, it's meant to be wild, diverse, and full of possibilities.